Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
And welcome in, everybody. This is the Huddle Up Pod. I am Scott Kennedy, sitting in for Chad Jensen tonight, who is in Las Vegas and ready for the NFL draft. And this guy over here,
yep,
is, you know him. You'll love him. It's Zack Kelberman. Zack, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing pretty well. I'll be in Vegas with Chad tomorrow night, but I'm holding it down. I appreciate you hopping on to fill in for Chad, as you always tend to do. And I'm excited. We have some news, Scott. We have some I'm going to call you Chad at least one time tonight, just as a little forewarning. Don't get mad.
I promise you I've been called worse.
I called Nick Scott on the roundtable, so I don't think I can get worse than that. But I'm happy to be on here with you talking more Broncos football. We got some transactions, and the draft starts in less than 24 hours now. I am pumped.
Well, let's start with the news. The players that are coming in. Now, I know there's at least one corner come in, but you hinted that there may be more than that are new Denver Broncos. And again, I think you get like 95 players this time of year. So let's fill up that roster. Here we go.
Yeah, I'll pop in the article to the side chat in the comments if you want to read about it. But the Broncos did sign. They worked out 7 veteran free agents during their 3-day voluntary minicamp, which ended today. And they signed 3 of those players. The first guy I wrote about, Bless Austin. I think his name's Blesswan or something like that, but we're going to call him Bless for the sake of conversation. Former Jets and Seahawks cornerback. He has like 18 games of starting experience. 6'1", decent length, but not that great in coverage. I think we went over this on Monday when the report of his visit first leaked. We talked about that he was kind of toasted when Seattle asked him to cover receivers last year, but it checks off one more need for George Paton heading into the draft. It allows him more flexibility. It shores up a little bit a cornerback spot that has nothing beyond Darby, K1 Williams, and Patrick Surtain. He'll help out on special teams if he makes the final roster. But he's just a guy right now. He's a Jet.
There you go. That's the one. The special teams. You know, he played a lot on special teams while he was there. Started for several games for the Jets, but it's kind of fallen off, which happens. You know, we talk about guys. Oh, he deserves a third year. Well, most guys don't make it to the third year. You know, they're cheap as a 6th-round guy. Battled some injuries. I was reading a little bit about him coming in. Battled some injuries before the combine, and his pro day ran like a 4.66 at Rutgers, and hadn't quite gotten over that. But then did it again later and knocked it down to the 4.5 range, in the 4.56, 4.55 range. So decent athlete, has some experience. And again, like we're talking about, you're not signing guys necessarily for the 53 right now. You're allowed to bring in and someone more psycho than me. It will be able to tell us exactly the roster limits going into June 1st, but it's close to 100. So you're allowed to bring in guys, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be here come September. But right now, he's blessed for, sorry for the pun. I hate him, but, so be it.
Yeah, we've had worse on the show for sure. According to Mike Liss, though, they also signed 2 more players, cornerback Donnie Lewis and wide receiver Trey Quinn. I will have a story about that coming to milehighhuddle.com after the podcast. But this is just rounding out the bottom of the roster, the bottom of the offseason roster, as Scott kind of differentiated there. Just guys that can help out, play some special teams. That's one thing that George Paton singled out in his pre-draft presser. They said the personnel was not good enough last year. They ranked last or next to last in most major categories. It's more hands on deck. I don't think, though, Scott, Bless Austin is going to preclude the Broncos from drafting a cornerback at 64 if they want to.
Yeah, he's not stopping anything there. However, there was a transaction in the last 24, 48 hours that could change your draft strategy, Zack, with Melvin Gordon coming back and Flazify coming in, kicking us off green here.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about Melvin Gordon here, and Flazify says he likes the move. He says, happy we brought back Mel for a good price. Now no one will talk about drafting a running back early. edge, offensive tackle, corner, safety, tight end, top 5 needs at the moment. And Vlazovic, thanks for coming in early and jump starting us. We certainly appreciate that.
I mean, I like it more than $8 million a year for Melvin Gordon. It's up to $5 million with incentives. I think it's 2.5 base, so not bad for a player that was making 8. They wanted another running back. It seemed like Peyton wanted Melvin back all along. Melvin wanted to come back all along. But as I put out there on Twitter, Javonte is going like this to Melvin. I'm the captain now. He's the RB1 now. He should be the workhorse now, I should say. For what he is at this point of his career, Melvin Gordon, 29 years old. He's had 7 fumbles since 2020. I don't think that's a long-term bell cow RB1. Javonte fits that profile for me, but in terms of a tandem, familiarity, Javonte Williams said he's cool with it. He's been talking to Melvin Gordon. They're on the same page. I don't hate it. I just hashtag free Mike Boone. That's my thing.
Well, I think you're going to free Mike Boone now because on Broncos for Breakfast, we've talked a lot about, and Dylan, appreciate everything you do, Dylan. I don't get to say that enough when I'm behind the scenes, so I'll say it now. Dylan makes it so much easier for us to put out good content when he's taking care of some of the things in the chat. So thank you so much. Whether it's the spammers or who knows, whatever it is, you do a lot, and we appreciate you.
He's on the front lines. It's not easy. Thanks, Dylan.
So where was I? We were talking Melvin Gordon and running backs. I lost my train of thought thanking Dylan. For me, I know what it was. What I had said was if you're taking running back 3rd, 4th round, again, another fairly high mid-round running back, to me, it's saying you don't trust Mike Boone. And he hardly played at all. We talk about, Mike Boone's a special teams ace. Well, I looked that up. His snap counts last year on special teams were 73. So he was on the field for 81 snaps last year, period, and made $2 million for it. How on earth are you going to keep a $2 million running back around again for 81 snaps? His days have to be numbered, Zach. They just have to be.
That says more about the Broncos coaches back then than it does Mike Boone, though. Getting him on the field after paying him a George Payton import, getting him on the field for 81 freaking snaps, that's incompetency to me. I thought he was going to get a chance to be the RB2. I don't know now. Obviously with Melvin Gordon's contract, 2.5 base is nothing, but the incentives kind of surprised me. 2.5 more available with unlockable, probably rep-based incentives. That means if he takes enough touches or gets enough yards, he can make more money. That says to me he's RB2. What do you do with Mike Boone in this case now? Do you trade him, Scott? Do you flip him for a 2023?
How do you trade him though? What has he shown that you can say, I can trade him? I mean, maybe a 6th rounder, maybe a 7th rounder, something for a 2023. Exactly what you're talking about for a 2023. But the guy hasn't played in 2 years. I mean, he had. Let me see. He didn't start. He played in 16 games. He had 11 carries in 2020. He did play a bunch on special teams. He had 4 carries last year. Who on earth is trading for him? And frankly, how do you give this guy a 2-year, $4 million contract?
Right. Yeah.
On that. So, I mean, we don't criticize George Payton very often. I think Mike Boone may have been a little bit of a mistake. One, which he corrected early by going and getting Javonte Williams. And he is a true number 1. Now, for me, let me hear your thoughts. I know what I think on this. The splits last year were almost dead even. I mean, like within 1,000ths of percent. I think it was like 1 carry difference between Boone and Javonte Williams last year. Where do you see those numbers going this year as far as percentages go?
I want to tack on one more thing you said to your point, which is pretty good about Mike Boone being a blemish, a rare blemish on Peyton's resume. That was compounded by getting rid of Phillip Lindsey. The Mike Boone signing was, it started from getting rid of Phillip. So I think he doubled down and made it looks like right now a bad move. But in terms of Javonte, it's got to be at least 60-40, Scott. I understand not making him like a 30 carry a game kind of guy, but are there going to be even 30 carries available in any given game? The Broncos are going to be such a pass-happy, pass-first offense led by Russell Wilson. Sure, they're going to hand the ball off, but are they going to run the ball 30 times? No one's expecting Javonte to get the ball that much, but if let's say they do run it 30 times, I think he should get 18 to 20 carries and leave the other.
I was thinking, 21 to 14. Let's talk. And I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, okay, that's 3/5. That's 60-40. So my initial thought was it should be about 65 to 35. which
I'll
wouldn't
take
be too many, but it depends on how many times you're going to run the ball. 20 carries a game isn't a ton. I mean, that's not a ton. That's old school. You're talking 340 carries over the course of 17 seasons, plus, touches. If you're doing 400 touches, you're going to wear out your running backs anyway. To steal the line from Nick, at least co-opted anyway, you're not really, buying running backs, you're leasing them. And you don't want a second contract for most of these guys. Someone built like Javonte Williams could be a little bit different. But I'm coming out of the gate, Zach, at least 60-40, which 60% would be 21-14. I think I did that math right as far as carries go.
I think Nick said that Javonte's going to be around for 3 years. I'll disagree with that. I think he's going to be around a little longer than that. He'll be a rental for maybe a decade. I think he's the next great Broncos running back. But Nathaniel Hackett gave it away. He had a press conference last month. Can't remember the exact occasion, but he says he wants a big stable. His words. He wants a lot of running backs because he believes they take a pounding. It's an injury-prone position. Even though Javonte didn't do anything to warrant that label last year, that's what Nathaniel Hackett believes. He comes from a team in Green Bay that utilized 2 running backs. They had a great one in Aaron Jones. But what did they do last year? They started working in Dylan to the mix as well. And I think they want that thunder and lightning approach. My question is, how much lightning does Melvin Gordon, age 29, offer to Javonte's thunder? If they want to get a speedy running back, you could have done that for a fraction of the cost through the draft.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's just thunder and lightning. He's just a good back. I mean, he's a good running back. My thought on this, and then I want to get to Dave Millage. Thank you for hanging in, Dave, with the super, was you almost need buy-off from Javonte Williams on this for a couple of reasons. One, you're better than he is right now. You want to be the number one guy. 2, he's making more money than you by a lot. But that's how the game is played. Once you're in the league 3-4 years and you're still around to get your next contract, you'll make exponentially more money, 3-4 times the money than you do on a second round deal. That's just the way it is. And I read your article about the re-signing, and it seems like Javonte understands. He goes, listen, I'm not worried about carries right now. And he's saying the right things publicly. He might be pissed, but he's saying all the right things publicly. I don't care about the split. I'll do what's needed because I just want to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
And he thinks that Melvin can help do that, at least publicly.
At least they have a good rapport. They work well together. It seems like they respect each other's game. And Melvin Gordon has to come back knowing that Javonte is going to be the guy. He's the future. Melvin's a 1-year rental. It's his last year, I think, in Denver, barring a 1,500-yard season. And if he can help the Broncos win, he can help the Broncos win. If they're going to have a true RB1, if they have to place the title on that guy, I want the RB1 to be definitively Javonte. I think he's earned that opportunity.
I don't think there's any doubt. When you split 50-50 carries with your $8 million back as a rookie, then the guy goes out and tests free agency and doesn't like what he sees and decides, you know what? I had it pretty good in Denver. Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind right now that he's coming back knowing that he is, and that's okay. I want to play longer. Even if I only play 1 year in Denver, man, if I'm 30 years old and I get 400 carries, I'm not seeing 31 or 32 years old. Maybe I can play another 4 or 5 years. I can extend my career, maybe get a ring out of this, make that deep playoff run that I've been wanting to do. So I don't think there's going to be any problem with that. As long as Javonte Williams stays healthy and performs, right, he should get at least 60% of the touches. And Dave, thank you for your patience coming in from that Canada, coming in orange, that Mile High Orange. Says, cheers, MHS. Chad, Zach, and Scott looking spring fresh. Zach,
thank you.
And pumped for Melvin Gordon. Russell will bring out the best in it, and I'm down for having him back. Enjoy the draft. Let's ride. D in sunny BC, Denver and sunny BC. So welcome in, and thank you for a very generous super chat.
Yeah, I had to get the fresh cut. I appreciate you noticing. We're going to Vegas tomorrow, so we have to keep it presentable for you guys, but we appreciate you as always. And I'm looking forward to it, seeing it up close and personal, seeing what the Broncos do on Friday, maybe even tomorrow if George Payton gets frisky enough, jumpy enough. I don't know. I don't see it happening.
I don't think that's going to happen. No. I actually did some Raider Nation radio this morning, and they know that I do a lot of Broncos stuff, and they asked me, what can you glean from these press conferences? I'm like, basically nothing. They don't say anything. I said, but the one thing I did hear George Payton say that I completely think is the truth is getting back into the first round is going to be too expensive. When you don't have a first-round pick next year, a second-round pick, you basically have to give away every pick you've got in order to try and sneak back into the first round, or players. which I didn't put that in there. I didn't think about that. So maybe you're throwing, a third rounder for the next 2 seasons and a player to get back into the first, but I don't see that happening, Zach.
I can dream though, Scott. I can dream. I mean, it's not going to happen, but knowing George Payton, the good thing about Payton is the impossible is nothing. Anything is possible with George Payton as your GM. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. But regardless, excited, man, about Friday and Saturday.
I am too. There's some intrigue in this draft, even in the first round. I mean, I was trying to do, again, the math. I'm like, what's 10 to the exclamation point? That's how many different ways the top 10 could shake out. There's, in math speak, which is exponential, however many that is, it's like thousands. There's so many different ways that this could go. And we're truly international tonight. Marcus Lewis Henna coming in from the UK. He said, with the Stars, saying, hey, guys, love and respect to all you Bronco fans from the UK. Let's ride Broncos. And also MHH. And thank you for the support. And Jeremy comes in with some stars. He says, is Philip Lindsey still available? I'd like to see him come back. He could kick and punt return and maybe see 5 carries a game.
It's not happening.
Does he want to do that? Would he want to do that? No. He still wants to go someplace where he can get some touches. But did he price himself out of the market a little bit? Is that why he was basically given up on by 3 teams in the last 14 months?
I don't know why he can't find a permanent role for himself, but it's not going to happen, Jeremy. I mean, it seemed unlikely even before the Broncos brought back Melvin Gordon. That bridge was burned for a reason. George Payton moved on for a reason. We have to keep that in mind. And to Scott's point, why would Philip come back to be a kick and punt returner and see 5 carries a game? He's better than that. I think he can find better than that, but he hasn't to this point. And I'm just... maybe it's his pass blocking woes. He's not a great receiving back. He doesn't play specials that adeptly. He's a smaller guy. I don't know what it is.
There's a lot of wear and tear on that body too, despite the fact that he's relatively new to the NFL. Nick reminded me that he had a ton of carries as an older guy at Colorado. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe he lost a step already. Again, what's the total tread wear on those tires?
2-time 1,000-yard rusher, former Pro Bowler. I mean, I think he deserves a chance just to see what he can do in a decent offense, not stuck behind, Mark Ingram and David Johnson in the doldrums and purgatory of the Texans. But he's not coming back to Denver. That dream is long dead. That ship has sailed well into the night. It's Melvin Gordon, Javonte, Mike Boone, and maybe Demarius Crockett in the Broncos.
I think he will get a chance somewhere. At the very least, he comes in as a no guaranteed money, come try and make the roster. So he will get a contract. I don't see any reason or for either side why it would be Philip Lindsey. So Oi Boy coming in saying, coming blue on us, saying Gordon for 1 year at $5 million, I'll allow him 2 fumbles. And if it's $4 million, it's still 2 fumbles. I'll allow him 2. And the thing is, Zach, and I said this last year, his days, it's not necessarily who's the number 1 or who's the number 2, but who's getting the carries when it matters. That's how I know who the number 1 running back is. And when they get inside the 20, they're in the fourth quarter trying to kill a game or try and come back or whatnot, you're going to see Javonte Williams. I don't care if at the end of the day it says they both had 15 touches. When it matters, you're going to see Javonte Williams.
I seem to recall that Melvin Gordon fumbled I think it was the one that Teddy Bridgewater didn't tackle on. It was Melvin Gordon getting that carry in crunch time and not Javonte freaking Williams. So the Broncos coaches have to utilize him correctly. Fortunately, thank God, they finally have competent coaches, not a coordinator in Pat Shurmur who's literally coaching incompletions to his quarterbacks. I don't want to allow any fumbles, Oi Boy. I mean, I understand the joke here, and he's known for fumbleitis, but he's a professional running back. His one job is to take care of the football. I don't care if he holds it up here like Tiki Barber. I don't care if he pretends it's a glass of Merlot in his hands. He has to keep valuable and untouched. Hold on to the ball. Don't fumble the ball. It's as simple as that. For all of Philip Lindsey's woes, Scott, all the criticism he gets, the one thing he's never done on an historic basis and pace is fumble. There's a utility for that in the NFL.
And I think it would have been even worse if the Broncos had blown that game to Washington, where there was the Pookie fumbled the ball, but it was called down. Because I'm listening to this on the radio. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're just trying to run out the clock. Fumbles. And then the very next carry, they give it to Melvin Gordon, and he fumbles. So it becomes a
Common
mental
errors.
thing at that point. It's like getting the yips in, trying to hit a golf ball or kick. It's almost like the yips. It's nuts. Make him walk around campus with that ball and find him every time someone can knock the ball out of his hands. Do it like old school. Mark from Georgia coming in, fellow Georgian.
Thank you so much, Mark.
The Broncos is all over the place. I believe the nickname here is the God King.
The God King.
Mark from Georgia. He says, "What's up?" Coming in hot pink. Said, "It's been a minute, Zach and Scott. Good to see you. Tell Chad I said hi." Well, if you hang around long enough, you can tell him yourself, because Zach and Chad will be back in towards the end of the show to kind of give an update on the meet and greet for tomorrow, for draft, for the weekends and stuff. So stay around just a little bit. Mark, thank you for that very generous super chat, my friend.
Knowing Chad, he probably saw your hi in real time, Mark. So we definitely appreciate you. We'll pass it along to him if you didn't hear it, but he'll pop in here, as Scott said. And real quick, thank you again, Mark. Real quick, you mentioned the yips. The Broncos backfield is pretty much like Buffalo Bills kicker circa 1990s. I mean, they constantly blow it when it's crunch time. I hope that's over with now.
Yeah, that's the Y word. You don't even say that. Don't even say the yips word, but it's seriously
Like what it was.
It's almost like, I don't necessarily believe in, well, yes, I do. I'm pretty superstitious and I believe in karmic justice and all that stuff. But when there's 80,000 people at the Broncos stadium, they're all thinking the same thing. Don't fumble. Don't. It just wills it. It wills it into existence. So maybe we have to change our train of thought, Melvin. Break it. Break it loose, man. Break it loose. Speaking of breaking it loose.
Just going to say that. Thank you so much,
Michaela Parker. And again, I don't get to say thank you enough. You're working your day job while I'm working the Broncos for breakfast, so I don't get to see you in person as much. So thank you for everything you do for this show and for us at Mile High Huddle. It is certainly just a huge support for everybody. So thank you very much. But she says, unsure about Merlot being back. I really wanted to see what Boone has in the tank. Much love. And the bright red kind of drowns out those hearts. But I do see them. I see them there on the screen. And again, we want to see this. And this is one of the problems I had, behind the scenes when we're talking about, well, then you would have known with Drew Lock. If you just played, you would have known with Drew Lock. These guys have had Mike Boone in the building for 12 months. Maybe they know. Maybe they already know. Because everything that we've been talked about, every time I hear third round running back, bringing Melvin Gordon back, all I keep hearing is it's not going to be Mike Boone.
You just shine the bat light in form of Drew Lock, Scott. So prepare for the troll wave now of haters. But yeah, Michaela, I'm kind of with you. I was prepared and resigned to the Broncos moving on from Melvin Gordon and going forward with Javonte and Mike Boone, Demarier, and a rookie. But George Payton had other plans. And like I said, if Melvin can help the Broncos win, if they win another game this season because Melvin did something good for the team, then that will be worth it, $2.5 million. But if he's keeping the Broncos backfield a split and not allowing Javonte to be as good as Javonte can be, as we saw last year when given the opportunity, that's where my thing comes in. I mean, $5 million isn't nothing if he hits those marks. That's not a penny in NFL terms. That's a reasonable investment in a running back. Yeah,
it's bad number one money. And how do I know that? It's because that's the kind of money that the Atlanta Falcons, who are the poverty franchise the last couple of years, that's what they've paid their running backs. They're starting number ones. George Fox, if I hadn't said thank you for the stars earlier when he came in, I want to say it now. And Colby C. Collier came in. He says, I want Pookie to get the majority of the carries, unlike last year, because it was close. It was split. Part of me hates this, but what if something happens to Williams? Then it's great to have Gordon. And we touched on this, Zach. Again, I thought for all of the faults that we can lay at the feet of Shermer and Fangio, I thought they handled Pookie Williams perfectly. I really did. I think bringing them in behind it, when you've got a big money running back, use him. And as the season went on, that number wasn't 50-50 all season. It wasn't. It was mostly Melvin Gordon to start, and then the carries started evening out. And to get even, that meant Javonte Williams had to get some more. Now, that's my gut feeling on it. I'd have to look at the numbers, But my gut tells me that in the last 6-8 games, Javonte Williams had more touches.
He should have. The thing I hate this kind of, nothing against you, Colby, personally. I just hate this logic. What if something happens to Russell Wilson? They have Brett Rippon and Josh Johnson. Does that mean they should go draft Desmond Ridder in the second round? No, injuries are a part of the game. But Javonte last year did nothing to show or prove that he's this injury-prone guy. Nothing close to that. He was one of the more reliable players on the Broncos' injury-decimated squad last year. So if he had that reputation, if he came out of college with injury concerns, I'd say, okay, Melvin's a $5 million insurance policy. But he was literally trucking fools on the field. He was running players over 3 at a time. I mean, this is a breakout candidate if there ever was one. He's not even entering his prime yet. Unleash the beast. I'm just wary of attaching an appendage to the beast and making him handicapped in a way.
And I don't think of it as I don't necessarily think of it as holding him back. I just think it's, hey, you've got a chance to get a number one for low number one money. My question with the contract,
they have a number one.
Yeah. My question with the contract is, does he prevent you from getting someone else? Then it becomes a problem. Right. It's like, oh, he was making too much money. Who did you not get because you were paying Melvin Gordon? And this is at the end. This is towards the end of free agency. It's not like this happened at the very beginning when you're like, well, what if we needed that extra $5 million to get Randy Gregory to sign someone else, or we missed out on Chandler Jones because we spent $5 million on Melvin Gordon. No, this is towards the end. He went out and shopped. Kareem Jackson went out and shopped, and they probably could have made a few extra bucks somewhere else and been in worse situations instead of being in a familiar place with a chance to win and an environment you love. That's worth a little bit of a discount. And frankly, we've been hitting on this one a long time. I thought we might, because it's a really good topic. We talked a lot about what happens if. Well, now it has. So I like the move because I don't think it's necessarily cost prohibitive. And he's a good player. He's a good player.
This is, Matt says it's called depth, Zach. Well, I asked you guys for weeks to give me one argument as to why the Broncos should draft a running back at 64. Everyone said depth. I understand they need depth, but you already had Mike Boone, you already have Demaria Crockett, and I have no problem drafting a running back at some point, 4th, 5th, 6th round, whatever. Does that depth need to be a $5 million potentially guy who has 7 fumbles in the last 2 seasons? Does it have to be that guy? That's my question.
Yeah, and for me, it's not depth. It's let's see, 918 yards and 8 carries, split in time. And 8 touchdowns. That's for me, it's a good player. He's a really good player. So
if he was so good, would he have been unsigned for so long and settling for $2.5 million for 1 year? I think he overvalues himself just a little bit.
He probably did. And again, like I said, I wouldn't want him as the low number one, but as long as it's not cost prohibitive, and I don't think it is, I don't mind the move. I really don't.
Well, let's pivot to one thing. You mentioned Kareem Jackson, Scott. We have some time. I thought I'd bring it up. I don't know if you saw it or not, but he was asked in his press conference the other day, does he expect to be the Broncos starting safety after re-signing for a minimum type deal? And he said, why wouldn't I? He was very defiant. And then today on Twitter, he said it was the dumbest question he was ever asked. I don't think it was dumb at all. I think it was a very fair question, and I'm not saying that because I'm defending the media side of it. He has 2 young players gunning for his spot. He toiled on the open market for weeks and had to settle for a 1-year, almost veteran minimum type deal. He should at least acknowledge those aspects instead of being so overly prideful. His ego got stung. That's why he gave that answer.
I would have to double check in the transcripts. It asks if you want to be. Would you want to be? Yes.
But acknowledge that there's other players behind you gunning for that spot. Players the Broncos are high on.
And you're saying live, you're getting live, you're asking live, and then to double down on it at the end, saying, yes, I'm going to have my work cut out for me. But yeah, again, Javonte Williams handled the question a lot better as a second-year guy than Kareem Jackson did.
Right.
Do you want to be, again, the transcript says on if he still wants to be an every down safety. Why wouldn't I be? And again, I'll have to go back and listen to the question again. But do you still want to be a starter? Yes, of course I do. I got my work cut out for me. We got some good players here, and be a little bit more humble about it. I said, but I understand that. I get your point though, for 100%, because he could have shown a little more humility there while still answering the question in the affirmative. Yes, of course I want to be an every down safety. Why wouldn't I be? I got my work cut out for me because these guys are good.
I was told to never answer a question with a question, but maybe Kareem Jackson was raised differently. But we have Dale hopping in here. D-Dub, Red Super, thank you so much for that generous contribution. $100 super, thank you so much, Dale. Draft weekend, Manning jersey in the window, 36th floor of Bellagio behind NFL Network. Very, very cool.
I was going to say, were you next to Ian Rappaport? I saw him with the fountains in the background on TV today.
Did you see him? He's kind of teeny tiny in person. Dale says, not sure anyone can see it this time of day. It's in the shadows and windows a little tinted. Very cool, but trying. LOL, hopefully we'll get some shine. Go Broncos. Shockus to MHH. I assume I mispronounced that, but I hope I did not. Let me know, Scott.
I'm too old to square.
Is also a shape.
Too old, too square. But you know what? I'm not too old and too square to say is Dale. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dale.
We got Mark, Dale, Michaela coming in big. You know who else is coming in big is another Mark, who is one of the biggest benefactors of our show, especially on Broncos for Breakfast coming in. Mark Schrader says, evening, I agree, Boone's days are numbered. If we draft a running back, or days are numbered if we draft a running back. He was hurt and missed several games, but still not worth the money. Yeah, and again, if you're bringing Melvin Gordon back, if you're talking about drafting a guy, he makes too much money for a guy that only got on the field for 81 snaps. And you keep bringing in people to keep him third string. I think his days are numbered, Zach.
How do we know he's not worth it, though, if he's not given the opportunity? I seem to recall.
We may not have to. They may know. If I watch practice every day, I'd like to think I'd have a pretty good idea.
It seemed like George Payton singled out Mike Boone, of all players most of us haven't heard of, as the replacement for Phillip Lindsey, paid him arguably running back 2 money, and then he mothballs him. It's just so strange how they're utilizing him and not giving him an opportunity. Even if it's kick return, free Mike Boone. Get some investment out of your money. Get your money's worth out of Mike Boone. What are we doing here?
You're shopping him, seeing if you can get anything before you release him and save $1.2 million in salary.
I don't like it. I disagree with that if that's the route they're going. I really do.
I mean, again, depth, $1.2 million. He's not – you can afford him. You can afford to keep him on. But again, you've heard me say this before. That's someone's $1.2 million that they're writing a check. Every time they're cutting a check and they're looking at a spreadsheet, or their assistant's assistant is looking at that spreadsheet, it's like, wait a minute. This guy's making $100,000 a month. He had 4 carries.
Yeah.
What?
Not good. Not good business.
$30,000 accountant that raises hell to and starts running up the food chain.
Yeah,
if you start needing some money on that, he's toast.
Let's shift gears from running back for a second. William Catalano chiming in. What was the issue with Randy Gregory with his arm in a sling? I wrote the story, did really well on the website, so we appreciate you reading that story. Randy Gregory had shoulder surgery, if I can talk. Arthroscopic surgery on his rotator cuff. It was elective in the sense the Broncos and Gregory agreed to do it after he signed a $70 million contract. He's going to miss the offseason program. He was never going to practice in the minicamp. Training camp is murky right now. Nathaniel Hackett kind of sidestepped that, but what Gregory did during practice, as told by Mike Kliss, he was asked, hey, Randy, when's the sling coming off? And Randy said, right now. And he started to undo the Velcro on it. So it was just Randy being Randy, and it's good to have a little bit of that dog back in the Denver defense, Scott. That was missing for so long since Aqib Talib took Michael Crabtree's chain right off his body. We haven't seen that in a Broncos uniform. I don't mind it, but it's going to get more hate because anything Gregory does or says draws criticism, but he's just having some fun out there. No big deal.
It sounds like a wrestling shoot almost.
Yeah.
It's coming up now. What came off next?
It's like kayfabe. He's breaking kayfabe.
The shirt came off next, and then he started flexing. I think that's great.
That's the NWO's theme music.
Andrew coming in saying teams will fear our run just as much as the pass, which will have Russ killing them in play action. balance. If you can be balanced, and this should be an extremely balanced team with the run and the pass and the weapons, with the cook in there to bring it all together. I mean, there's a reason Russell Wilson wanted to come here. And it wasn't just because, the mountains are nice and they're going to pay me more than anybody else. This is a good roster. It really is. Where are your holes as far as, the skill guys go? Could we get better at center? Could we get better at right tackle? Can we improve? You can improve anything. There's, for the most part, almost always somebody better. But this is a good roster, and the running game should be really stout. Appreciate the stars, Andrew.
Yeah, you guys stay catfishing me. Every time I see one of these things, I have to double check if it's true. Leroy chimes in. I heard Deebo Samuel was traded to the Jets for 2 first-round picks. I just checked on Twitter. I didn't see anything. I don't think
expensive.
Yeah, they can just draft a receiver and save the money.
That'd
honestly
be a lot. I'd take that deal in a heartbeat if I'm the 49ers, especially since they gave away all their draft picks for Trey Lance.
And by the way, guys, it doesn't have to be said, but it's said anyway. The Broncos are not trading for Deebo Samuel. Okay, it's not happening at all. So let's just end that conversation. Chase Wellner. Appreciate you, Chase, as always. Love seeing you in here. Chase says, how would you compare Melvin and Javonte to Aaron and A.J. Dillon? I don't know if you're like criticizing that comparison, Chase, or you're genuinely asking, but I meant more so in the terms of what Hackett experienced in Green Bay as a first-time head coach, first-time, shot caller of an offense. He's going to probably take some elements of that Green Bay offense. One of those elements was you had a damn good running back in RB1 in Aaron Jones, but you still wanted to keep him fresh, I guess, and incorporate A.J. Dillon into the mix. And to Green Bay's credit, it worked. And that's why I think he sees the same kind of visions with Melvin and Javonte.
Yeah, there's room for 2 running backs, even in a pass-happy league. I don't think there was this was a genuine question because I had it because I couldn't answer. I'm like, okay, I hope Zach takes this. I don't watch enough of the Packers to know how this goes. I know how Melvin and Javonte work together, but I didn't pay attention enough to the Packers to go Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon on this one. So appreciate the stars, Chase.
Thank you.
George coming in with some good wishes too, saying have fun at the draft, guys. Thanks for all your insight to the team all year. Denver Broncos for life, Mile High Huddle for life.
I don't know. We see Chad in the green room. I don't know if it's time to bring him on or not. I can't.
I'm not bringing him on until I see his face.
Yeah, he has no camera right now. So we're waiting on Chad. He's vamping in the back area. Tim hopping in here. Is Matt Paradis, excuse me, that's a faux pas, like saying Broncos Nation. Is Matt Paradis available? Could he be a replacement to Cush? No, I think that replacement is going to come in the draft. It could be Cam Jurgens in the 2nd or 3rd round. It could be a guy they like to build on and incorporate as a rookie. I don't see Paradis coming back. Again, the reason you move on from a player, whether it's money, injury concerns, character concerns, attitude concerns, whatever, there's a reason why you moved on from them. And there's a reason why the Broncos moved on from Paradis. He looked good in Carolina for a season and then kind of fell off. So that ship has also sailed. Him and Philip Lindsey are sailing on the same ship.
Well, I'm going, I would react to that, but I have trouble when I start seeing red, Zach, keeping my train of thought. I see it. And I have to come down a little bit, and I'll get back up to Phil and George here again.
Dale, man.
Dale coming in back to back.
Thank you so much, Dale. Wow.
Yeah, just you just said, and Dale says this is given on behalf of Michaela. You go, girl. On behalf of all of us. So thank you very much. Love her support. It's encouraging. By the way, it's okay to be square, Scott. Thank you. Good thing. But please tell me you gents know what a shaka is. If not, you need to visit the Hawaiian Islands soon. I've been to Hawaii 3 or 4 times, but I don't remember what a shaka is. But I 100% agree with you. It's been too long. I haven't been there. When I was out in California, it was a whole lot easier to get to now that I'm back in Georgia. I don't remember what a shaka is. So I apologize. I will ask the Google machine though before I go to bed.
I've never been to Hawaii. I mean, I was born and raised in South Florida, so that I've got my fill of palm trees for one lifetime. But the shaka I know is Shaka Khan and Shaka Smart. I don't know. I don't associate what the other shaka
or
could
your
be.
Shakas, which are
chakras.
Like chakras are jammed. I remember, but I think that's like shock, like the Electris.
Wait. No way, Kathy. That's what it's called. It's called a shaka. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm probably botching that too. But
I'm in your pinky out. It's like a hang loose.
Oh, I don't know what I was doing, like Wolfpack inverted. Shaka. There we go. Learn something new every day.
I thought that was like an old hippie thing, though. So.
Hang loose. That's right.
Again, ignorance is okay. Willful ignorance is not. Ignorance just means I don't know. I'm willing to say I don't know. I'm ignorant. I'll learn.
I'm so Caucasian. Jeff asked. Zach,
the whitest I've ever felt in my entire life wasn't like when I was only white guy at a South Atlanta football game within 100 miles. Was when I had to Google how to eat a tamale because I'm like chewing on the tusk. I'm like, this can't be right.
Yeah,
can't be right.
That was a low moment in your adulthood.
I had to Google it, and like I started getting like, "Are you too white?" ads on my Google. My Google ads started changing. So again,
anyway,
ignorant, not willful. I'm willing to learn. Teach me. Thank you again, Dale.
Thank you, Dale. And we hope to see you at the draft. Chad and I do coming out Friday night for the meet and greet. We'll have more information as soon as Chad makes his presence available. Jeff asked, with 17 games, does the 1,000-yard rushing threshold really mean anything? I don't think it meant a lot with 16 games.
16.
I mean, everyone made a big deal about C.J. Anderson getting it in 2018, 2017, and it's like 60 yards a game or something like that. It's not that big of a deal. It's more for the running back to feel good and for the team to feel good to say, look, we have a 1,000-yard rusher, but when you boil it down to a per game basis, it's not that impressive.
You know what's crazy, though? Let me look this up. I said the same thing, Zach, but because of the way the game has changed, there's only like 6 running backs that had 1,000 yards. Let me see. I'll look it up and see. No, not all time. I know all time. Rushing leaders. So over 1,000 yards, there was Jonathan Taylor, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Zeke Elliott was the 7th at 1,002. Antonio Gibson was at 1037. Dalvin Cook 1159. Najee Harris at 1200, and he's 4th. So it doesn't, to me, old school. Earl Campbell, Walter Payton type. Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. Those guys got 1,500 yards. Just showing up. It doesn't mean as much to me, but it still means something. Obviously, that you're getting enough carries and not splitting so many. It also might mean that the team doesn't have another running back they trust, frankly, or else you wouldn't be getting enough carries. You'd split them. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again. Yes, this is positive Shermer Fangio talk. I thought they handled Javonte Williams. The heel. It was a face turn. He's gone heel. I thought they handled Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon very well last year, easing Javonte into a little bit as a rookie, while you've got a guy in the last year of his expensive contract, and then upping it as it became clear. And I think that's what you're going to see this year, 60-40 at minimum. I think 65-35 for Javonte.
Man, you had a good point there when you said it doesn't happen that often, considering it's a 2 or 3 running back league now per team. But you rattled off the names. I'm thinking to myself, okay, Jonathan Taylor deserves it. Dalvin Cook deserves it. But like, trust me when I say Ezekiel Elliott is the name on that list that kind of discredits the whole thing. He was terrible last year. Tony Pollard,
yards per carry and 4 yards a carry for Antonio Gibson.
I mean, 4 yards a
carry isn't good enough for me. No, that's not a good running game.
If Javonte or whoever hits 1,200 yards, 1,500, obviously, yeah, that's a really good season. That's something to commend and admire. But I think 1,000 is not overly impressive, personally.
And Phil, I think I don't remember reading Phil, and Phil's a big supporter of MHH, so I want to make sure. So I think we overpaid for Gordon, maybe. But if it's 2.5 base and he doesn't earn it, then
right, it's nothing.
You didn't pay him much more than you paid Mike Boone last year to sit around and do nothing. But since we have him, let's just pray and hold on to the ball. Go Broncos, Mile High Huddle for life. Appreciate it. Salvi Nation coming in also. So I've been supporting everything Peyton has done with the team. But Butterhands Gordon, one of the jokes, I think I said smack my head one time when I saw SMH. So smack my head. That's what that looks. The old face bomb, the smack my head. Only if George Payton has something in mind, but otherwise it's a no from me.
I wish I could have seen that video, Scott. It probably doesn't exist, but that would have been hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it was the one, thing they criticized Peyton about last year was getting rid of Philip Lindsey, and I understood it. And like Scott said, he kind of soothed that burn. The aloe was Javonte Williams. Mm-hmm. But what's the anti-aloe? Salt. I think salt in the wound would be bringing back Melvin Gordon and like putting Mike Boone in mothballs after paying him that money. I agree with the premise of both of what you said and what the comment's saying. $2.5 million for Melvin is nothing. I'm fine with that. $5 million when you have Javonte and you're still starting Billy Turner at right tackle, that's where it gets a little, I don't know, cringy for me.
Dave coming in. Dave from Georgia. Look at all this Georgia love. We're gonna have to do something here. Get a Georgia Broncos country get together or something. Even if it's just me and a couple of the Marks and Dave. Hey, Zach Scotty, Broncos country. Merlot will be a great number 2. Pookie's gonna tear it up. Broncos country, football priest. And if he is a great number 2, say he gets 600-700 yards, I think you will have earned his money. Keep it if you're able to keep Javonte fresh for the long haul. Because you know what? I'd like to see the Broncos play 20 games this year. You're going to need a couple of running backs. You're going to need them. And I know you've been a big proponent of seeing Mike Boone, and I think that's what hurts about as much as anything on this is like, well, crap. I wanted to see Mike Boone get a chance. I just don't know that we're going to, Zach. I really don't.
I did not think Merlot was going to stick as a nickname, so I appreciate you, Dave, keeping that nickname alive. I want to see what the incentives are in that contract, though, for Melvin Gordon. I want to see, like, what are the escalators, what are the unlockable levels and tiers he has to reach to get that money. If it's like 1,000 yards, then he's probably going to not make more than $2.5 million. But if it's 500 or 750, then he's going to start making more money and maybe take some carries away if he gets hot from Javonte. Real quick, Scott, we have an announcement from Chad, who's not going to be able to pop on tonight. He's having some technical issues. He wants us to let y'all know. We're going to make an announcement on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all our social media at the bar, the Broncos bar we're going to meet at. It's going to be a nice festive occasion on Friday evening. Meet and greet, hangout Friday. More information coming on that. Keep it locked to MHH Social. We'll have it out there for you ASAP.
Now, if there is I don't want to say detractor, but if there was a questionable, if anybody questions George Paton, it's Lawrence. Lawrence is the guy that has always taken that glass half empty look when it comes to George Paton. And he says, no, I still say Melvin Gordon coming in was Paton's way of not having to pay Lindsey what he should have. Again, let me hit on this one, Zach, and I want to get your take on this. I started working with y'all just about a year ago, in March. Since then, I've seen Philip Lindsey get a decent-sized contract from the Houston and then canned. I almost said, canned, but I said canned. Gets picked up by the Miami Dolphins, and thank you, no thank you. So what I've seen from Philip Lindsey in the last 12, 13 months of knowing more about Philip Lindsey was 3 teams give up on him. So when you say something like should have, maybe not.
I feel like it's throwing good money after bad, though. I mean, you were trying to pinch some pennies with Philip Lindsey, then you go out and pay Mike Boone RB2 money. Then you don't utilize Mike Boone. What was it, 40 snaps, 48 snaps the whole season?
It was 4 carries, and let me see if I still have
including
Mike
specials.
Mike Boone's snap counts. Let me see, snap counts. He had 25 on offense and 73 on special teams.
Yeah, and then you're going to turn around and bring back Melvin Gordon for potentially $5 million. The way he's handling the backfield, I give him the benefit of the doubt. I trust George Paton's vision, but if there are things to pick nits about with him, the way he's handled Boone, Lindsey, and Gordon has been a little head-scratching.
Yeah, I think, again, I don't know the Lindsey thing, but for me, this just screams I made a mistake with Mike Boone. That's what it says to me. And maybe it was Philip Lindsey, but I haven't seen anything else that has led me to believe that he made a mistake by not bringing back Philip Lindsey. He didn't go somewhere else and tear it up. That's when you start wondering. When Drew Lock goes up to Seattle and throws for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns, we'll know. Until then, we haven't really seen it. So I actually told my friend, he told me he was going to come in and heckle me. I said, if you want to get everybody cranked up, this chat's busier. I don't know if we'll be able to see it. Start talking Drew Lock. That's how you get the chat going.
Or say that Vic Fangio was a good head coach for the Broncos, or Pat Shurmur, like you try to do, Scott, and give them a compliment. We don't do that around these parts.
I'm not going political on this, where we have to be opposed on everything. They didn't do everything wrong. Most things, yeah, but not most. Yeah, I'll give you that, but not everything. And I do think they handled the running back situation, for the most part, pretty well last year.
Boo. Anyway, we got John Clay Eventing hopping in, $5 super. Thank you so much, John. This is a question for Scott. Scott, I would join that Georgia Broncos group from here in Huntsville. Go Broncos. What say you?
A pretty good hike. Of course, not like a West Coast hike where, you to hit the Home Depot in the next town, it's 4 hours. Once you get west of the Mississippi, that gets real big. But I was near y'all last weekend. I was in Albertville for a baseball tournament. So I wasn't too far from you over in Huntsville. That's about 4 hours from Atlanta for John Clay. So that's still a pretty good hike. We could probably do something like that. We could do, Atlanta's a good meeting place, a good hub. I think we're gonna have to pull something like that off, I think. So appreciate you, John Clay.
See, this is what happens, Scott, when you mention Drew Lock. Poor Dylan on the front lines taking the bullets. Please don't say that, Scott. I'm going to have to deal with that. Yeah. We're not going to talk about he who shall not be named on this podcast. We have Russell freaking Wilson now, so we're going to talk about him. But we have another.
That was the second comment, actually. He's like, but everybody's pretty happy with Russell Wilson, right? I'm like, yes, that one's universal.
Yeah.
That one's universal. You might be able to find one or two people that says, they gave up too much for him, but they're few and far between, and they disagree with everybody anyway.
Yeah, for sure. We got Dale hopping in. Another super from Dale. Thank you so much, man. You are seriously the best. So appreciative. LOL, Scott, you're not square by a mile. Your football knowledge with a cup of coffee in the morning and now is awesome. And yes, it's the hang loose pinky and thumb thing. Holla. I mean,
I was always
yeah.
I was never the hang loose kind of guy.
I'm shocking right now.
I was more of the let's hurt something.
Thank you so much.
I need more hang loose in my life. I need more Hawaiian, or the Pura Vida from Costa Rica, the Pure Life down there. So yes, I can use a lot more chill, a lot more hang loose, and a little less of this.
Kent isn't as kind, Scott. He's kind of calling you out. Husk,
yeah,
Scott. It's called a husk.
I was like, it wasn't husk. I forgot exactly what I said, but it wasn't. Whatever it was, I knew I said it wrong when I heard myself say it. But it definitely wasn't the part you were supposed to eat. So, yes, that was bad.
Did you see this, though? I'm sure you saw the video, Scott. A lot of Broncos fans are going crazy about it. Like Phil says, did you see Russell Wilson handing off to Nathaniel Hackett? White lightning, baby.
I read the comments about it, and listen, we didn't have a running back on the field. I thought he needed somebody to hand the ball off to, so I ran it.
Yeah. Breaking news, Nathaniel Hackett just got a $2.5 million contract from the Broncos to be the RB2. But he also completed a pass. Russell Wilson did to Nathaniel Hackett in yesterday's practice. So, it's fun to see. It doesn't mean much. It's kind of a goofy kind of thing, silly thing. But to have that fun back, Scott, in the Broncos building, to see the Broncos, can you imagine Vic Fangio taking a freaking handoff? He'd be on AARP's payroll tomorrow. And Nathaniel Hackett just is able to do that and teach and have fun out there. It's so refreshing.
Just going through, doing some of the stuff I do behind the scenes for the channel, grabbing videos for I got angry. I'm like, this guy is an ass. Fangio. And I think you heard me say it when the way he acted after the Dallas Cowboys win was shameful.
Yeah.
It was shameful. So, this is, again, and I hope it lasts because the energy, the goofiness, all this kind of stuff, it's all well and good in the honeymoon period, but you got to win. You got to win or else it's going to say, man, we should have known this guy was a buffoon. He's out there acting like a clown instead of coaching guys. I feel pretty good about it. Again, while he is a rookie head coach, he's got a veteran quarterback. He's got a veteran quarterback and a good roster. That's a pretty good situation. There's a reason why I said during the coaching search, Zach, I was like, Denver, it almost feels like Denver fans and honestly the rest of the NFL is kind of waiting to see what Denver does so they can go and get the next guy. It's just Jacksonville Jaguars couldn't even get interviews with half their candidates. Yeah. But Denver gets their pick. And it's just nice. It's a good situation to be in. You're blessed.
You mentioned the honeymoon comparison. I agree that we're in that, and it's great. But when someone gets married, you don't think about like the fights you're going to have because the dishes weren't clean. You don't think about the divorce. You think about the honeymoon. So all I can think about right now is Russell Wilson is the Broncos quarterback. Hackett's the Broncos head coach, and this team is on a major upward trajectory. And I think they're going to be in contention for the AFC West, as our Butler is positing here. He wants to know: do you think we have the most stacked offense in the West? What do you say, Scott?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, you're going to put up better numbers than the Chargers. The Chargers were pretty good. I mean, I don't know, honestly. It feels to me like a 3-horse race. The Chargers are going to put up numbers. The Chiefs are going to put up numbers. The Broncos are going to put up numbers. I would say no to get started because I think there's less proven. I know you lost Tyreek Hill there, but you're just a little bit more proven in other areas. And you got a long way to go up. I mean, a significant improvement would get you to middle of the pack, so having going from 26 to 5 would be unbelievable. Possible, but it would be really amazing. And Zach, I'll let you weigh in, and I want to look up some numbers on this to back up. Like I said, my gut feeling on this is it's a big mountain to climb from where you were to get above the teams like, the Chargers and Chiefs who were really good last year.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what your definition of stacked is. Like, do you mean from a talent perspective or a production standpoint? It's going to be, I think, a 2-horse race between the Chargers and Broncos. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic on, April 27th, but this offense, man, it's always been a quarterback away from truly exploding with these receivers. When you have talents like Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, you have KJ Hamler, you have Javonte, you have Albert O, and so on and so on. It was missing that quarterback. You didn't just get a quarterback. You got a 9-time Pro Bowler, former Super Bowl champion in Russell Wilson. I think it's going to come down to Kansas City and Denver. Who has more yards and touchdowns or whatever, I really don't care about. Who has more victories, I do. Who's on top of the West come January, I care about. And there's a very good chance, in my opinion, that could be the Broncos.
The yards, again, we're talking about Kansas City and the Chargers as far as yards per game was 3rd and 4th in the NFL. If you're knocking on the door, if it's like, oh, well, we were 3rd in our division, but we were 5th in the NFL, so be it. It's one of those things where, Zach, you may have heard me say before, I don't argue levels of elite. If you're 3rd in the NFL, or 5th in the NFL, 3rd in your division, you're not losing games because of your offense. Your offense is at a championship caliber. Now, what else is going on? Are you scoring in the red zone? Are your efficiency numbers good? Is your defense holding its own? Is your special teams not a disaster? If you're a top 5, you got a top 5 offense. If you're in that neck of the woods, you've got a championship caliber offense.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe I'm being biased, but I feel like Herbert is due for a drop off. He had such a phenomenal rookie year, and he followed that up with an even better second year. I think he's due for a regression at some point. Maybe it's cautious optimism. I do not know, but and as long as they have Brandon Staley, honestly, who constantly outthinks himself. We talk about coaching all the time. I happen to think Hackett will be a better head coach than Brandon Staley is, so they have another advantage there. To me, it's Kansas City and Denver, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Talent goes, I mean, when you say stacked, I think just pure talent in that case. But I want to see how the production goes. It'd be hard to argue against the Denver Broncos. I mean, you're good at running back. Let's see. It may come down to Albert Okwuegbunam and Jerry Jeudy. Do they step up to become the guys we think they can become? If they do, the answer is nobody. Nobody's got 3 receivers, a running back, and a tight end that can play at that level, and the quarterback. You might have 3 of those 6 I just mentioned. 4, but nailing all 6 of them. And plus, you got Melvin Gordon as your number 2. That's a pretty good number 2 back. So
I have to flash this comment because I keep busting out laughing. Jeff Ghost Fangio was trying out to be the pylon. Yeah, that's what he was like. He's just a literal stick in the mud who stood there with his arms crossed and offered nothing, and the team took on that attitude. But look at now. I mean, you have Hackett taking handoffs and catching passes from Russell Wilson of all. It's just a different fun time, different vibe in Denver, and I literally could not be more pumped about it. I can only imagine how the players feel.
I can't coach without music. I got to have the music.
Right.
I mean, he's hyperactive again. Which is good. I mean, he'd drive me crazy, but I don't have to play around and golf with him or, try and go to a movie with him. And don't get me wrong. I think he seems like a really fun guy.
He wouldn't shut up during a movie. I feel like he would constantly be like, "Hey, you see that? You see that?
Did you see?" Like, listen, you're gonna love this part, especially as a guy that's seen it before. So, shut up!
It's right in front of you. Watch the movie.
My daughter's she'll ask, "Well, what happened here?" I'm like, "Would you just watch the movie?" But she's 10. So
that's acceptable. Yeah, she gets a pass. But, it's so crazy, Scott. I wrote a story about that. I did not expect it to even do as well as it did. And y'all just lapped it up that Hackett's bringing music back to Broncos practice. There was literally no music during practice in the Vic Fangio era. How archaic do you have to be? How curmudgeony do you have to be to not to have freaking music? And now you have the head coach who says he can't be without music. I mean, the opposite ends of the spectrum is just phenomenal.
Yeah, you're going to get a bounce. It's going to be fun. This year's going to be fun. Even if the soccer phrase, and I think you've heard me coin on here, and because I've heard Nick repeat it too, is suffer ball. Basically you take the air out of the ball and try and keep it 0-0, and maybe you can win in penalties or sneak in a counter or get a lucky break on a set piece or something. It's suffer ball. It's awful. That's how watching Denver was last year. They played not to lose on offense. They played not to lose on defense. And guess what?
They didn't play on special teams at all. So.
Yeah, and then they lost the game on special teams, So it was dull. It was dull on both sides of the ball. Evero, we haven't even talked about Ejiro Evero. Evero basically says, I want to attack. Yeah. We got to get pressure. I got to find ways to get pressure. How are you going to get pressure? There's lots of guys we believe in. We got to get pressure, though. Love this guy. I already like him, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't put it all on Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur for it being dull. They were, largely the problem because they were the two biggest coaches in the building. But Ed Donatel, the former Broncos DC, did nothing. He was Fangio's lackey. He literally was just a DC in title only. And Evero is a true coach. And I put this out there on Twitter. Y'all seem to like the tweet and agree with me that there's teachers teaching again. There's coaches coaching again. Evero is so hands-on. And not only that, he's as aggressive as Wade Phillips used to be. And that's what the Broncos sorely lacked under Fangio, is that get after the ball, force turnovers, force picks, make sacks, take the ball away, get it back for the offense, change the outcome of the game. They rarely did that. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that under Evero. Great hire.
The buzzword before you get us out of here, Zach, the buzzword is, culture. You got to change the culture. Done. The culture's been changed. Okay. Now let's get some wins under your belt and really and prove that it's not just all fun and games. Everybody's got to play until they get punched in the mouth, right, Mike Tyson? So,
that's the drunk guy on the plane.
Games now. Then the rubber's going to hit the road come September.
Inner Lotus asked, what was the word Zach just said? Archaic?
Was it curmudgeony?
Yeah. I thought I said a bad word. I was thinking of that while I was talking during the last question. No, it was archaic and curmudgeony. I haven't slipped on the pod yet. It's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
I don't know about you. Whenever someone's like, hey, I got to talk to you, like, oh, crap. It's like you read that. You're like, what did he just say? You're like, oh, crap. What did I just say?
What could I have possibly said? Don't cancel me. Anyway, guys. Okay, we have one more.
One more curmudgeony, and then why'll get us out of here. Say, evening, gents. Not used to seeing Scott in the PM. I'm usually here. I'm just kind of hanging out in the back, and I don't get to say. I do see everybody say hello. I just don't get a chance to say hello back all the time because, it's not necessarily my place to be in there a lot. So I'm so excited to see a coach with some passion on the sidelines. Amen. I've asked a question watching some guys. Man, if you don't care, why should I? Right. As a fan, if you don't take this passion, I felt like that was more with baseball sometimes, it's a more even keel sport anyway. But it's like, man, if y'all don't care, I watched Cal Stanford. They were both like 15 in the country, and there's like 15,000 fans in the stands. If you don't care, why should I? Fangio, you don't care. Why should I care? I'm so excited to see a coach with some passion on the sidelines. No more confused, arm-crossed old man with irrational challenges.
Yeah. How about a coach that can win a challenge? It was historically bad.
Wasn't he 0 for career?
I think he won 1.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I think he won 1. He was like 1 for 13. How are you that bad? It is impossible. If you flipped a coin at random, you can have better odds than 1 in 13. I don't know. I don't understand. You mentioned suffer ball. It was torture ball under Vic Fangio.
Because there's a video guy that's recommending this. Oh yeah, I saw this. You want to challenge us? That's a job. Who are you paying for that? I'm for hire. Bring me in. I'm on the conservative side.
Fangio had 2 eyes. He was making $7 million a year. He was on the sideline looking at the play. He has to follow his own instinct and his own intuition. He rarely did that, and he relied on the wrong people. It was all on Fangio. But
I'm not going 1 for 13. I promise you on that one.
A lot more Fangio talk.
Zach, we're at an hour 5. This flew by.
It did, always.
Just me and Zach having fun with y'all, and some huge support coming in from our Mile High Huddle country nation. Community. Michaela, Dale, Mark, other Mark, Andrew. I don't want to leave you out. It's just Chad likes to send out the thank you to everybody. I want to say thank you to everybody. It's been a lot of fun. And tomorrow is draft day. So one note for draft day. We'll be on at 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 Mountain. It's going to be me and Nick and Eric Trickle, and some of the other guys might come in, bounce in and out, but it's going to be us 3 for the most part. No first-round pick for the Denver Broncos that we know of. Not yet, but could happen. But we'll be on all night long, all first round. So it could take us until about midnight. I got a whole handful of sore throat lozenges. Broncos for breakfast in the morning. Draft Eve. We'll do a little draft preview with me and Nick. And then it's going to be draft night. And then Friday, Eric and Lance, and I might join them because the Falcons have 4 picks too. It makes sense for me to be on that. But you're going to see a lot of Mile High Huddle in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, and Chad and I, we're going to be in Vegas, as we've mentioned before. More information, again, on the meet and greet coming for Friday. But we're going to pop into the podcast tomorrow night from behind the scenes in Vegas, hopefully behind the stage, maybe getting some exclusive content, definitely exclusive content, but maybe some interviews or, real live reaction, real time to the pick. So I'll look out for that. But that was the Huddle Up Podcast for one evening. Follow us on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL if you guys want some merch that neither of us are wearing tonight. I can't even get on you tonight, Scott, about it. Go to huddleuppod.com and get yourself a hat, anything you want. It's all right there. I don't got to go through the spiel. You know what it is. And also facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Like that page, follow that page. Guys, if you haven't, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football pre-save 5-star review for a chance to win some swag each and every month. But if you can't do those things, please do these 3 things. It helps us grow monumentally. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. Again, it really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you. Scott, last word.
Gary Lees Palmer, thank you much. Hope you're healthy and well. Appreciate the stars. My last word, since we put it in the topic and didn't address it, 64.
Yeah, that's right.
Best case realistically for me, right tackle Abraham Lucas.
I'm going to go, I agree. I'm going to change it up. I'll just say Chad Muma, linebacker, or Anderson. Either or. That's, I think, best case scenario for the Broncos. But we'll have much more to come from the draft starting tomorrow night. Don't forget to hop on to the stream starting a little before 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern. Take care, guys. And as always, thank you. Go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.